Have you ever noticed that sometimes love hides in contradictions? A man may seem distant, silent, almost confusing, and yet something about his gestures, his subtle reactions, tells a story you can't quite name. What if I told you that these contradictions are not mistakes at all, but the secret language of love, the kind of love Carl Jung believed rises from the unconscious mind, long before words or logic can ever catch up? What if I told you there are clues in his silence, in his sudden closeness, in the way his soul speaks when his mouth does not? The answer is hidden, but once you see it, you will never doubt again. And before I reveal these powerful signs, I want you to pause and do something important. Subscribe right now to SYC Soul, hit the notification bell so you never miss insights like this video, and share it with someone who may need to hear these words. Because what you'll discover here may forever change how you understand love. Carl Jung, one of the greatest explorers of the human soul, once said, "What we do not make conscious appears in our lives as fate." That applies to love more than anything. A man can be completely unaware of what he feels, and yet his unconscious, his heart, his very essence already betrays him. The small details, the way his energy shifts around you and only you, reveal the truth long before his mind admits it. He may confuse you with mixed signals. One day silent, another day attentive, another moment pretending not to notice. But the reality is, he may be far more in love with you than he even realizes. Because real love doesn't appear with logical declarations or grand promises. Real love leaks into dreams, into unguarded glances, into the way he unconsciously remembers you in moments you least expect. This is why you must pay attention, not to cliches, not to texts or rehearsed phrases, but to the subtle symbols of the soul that Jung studied so deeply. If he is doing even one of these things, if he reacts in these hidden ways, you are already inside his inner world. And the sooner you recognize it, the sooner you will see the difference between shallow interest and soul-level connection. Stay close, because what comes next are the very first signs, the ones most people miss, but that whisper louder than any confession. When a man is touched by something he does not yet understand, his unconscious begins to move. His rational mind may resist, but his soul already acts on his behalf. And the very first sign appears in his attention. Not the obvious attention that seeks to impress or win something back, but a quieter, deeper noticing. Suddenly he observes things others miss. He notices the tone in your voice when you say, "I'm fine." He notices a small change in your hair without you mentioning it. He notices emotions you thought were hidden. This is not the behavior of someone who is casually interested. This is resonance, a vibration in the soul, as Jung would call it, a projection of deep emotion trying to make itself visible. And here's the rehook. Ask yourself, why does he notice you in ways others do not? Why does he remember you even when he is busy, bringing up things you said long ago? Why does he appear without reason, as though something beyond his control draws him to you? The answer lies in what Jung taught us, that the unconscious has its own path. His behavior is not habit. It is not obsession, it is emotional truth leaking into the visible world. Another powerful clue, his behavior changes in your presence. Some men behave the same with everyone. But when a man is truly in love, whether he admits it or not, he acts differently with you. Perhaps he is more vulnerable, more open, maybe even clumsy. Love disarms, love removes the mask. And if his silences with you are not empty, but full, if he drops his guard in your company, then you are seeing something deeper than fleeting attraction. Carl Jung said, "What the soul loves, it protects." If he quietly checks whether you are safe, if he worries that you have eaten, if he shields you from small discomforts, this is not control, it is unconscious devotion. He has already made you part of his inner world, even if he doesn't yet say it aloud. Stay with me, because what comes next are signs even harder to deny, signs where words vanish, and the soul itself begins to speak. There comes a moment when a man doesn't need to speak to reveal what he feels. His body, his silence, his presence all betray him. Look closely at the way he sits with you in silence. If he does not rush to fill the air with meaningless words, it is because that silence is already connection. His breathing shifts, his eyes soften, his entire energy changes. And here lies the mystery. Love does not need a declaration to exist. Sometimes the body says what the mouth cannot. So watch carefully when others mention your name. If someone praises you, notice how his eyes brighten. If someone criticizes you, notice his expression darken. He may not say a word, but instinct acts where logic has not yet arrived. Jung taught that our unconscious responds long before our thoughts do, and if his reactions betray him when you are discussed, it is because his soul has already chosen you. Another sign hides in effort. Love does not remain passive. A man who feels something real will begin to adjust his life around you, not with dramatic gestures, but with quiet persistence. He remembers what you told him. He rearranges his schedule to see you. He apologizes sincerely when he thinks he has disappointed you. These efforts are not calculated. They are unconscious. They happen because his inner world is already rearranging itself to include you. And there is something even more subtle, the way he changes when you are not there. His thoughts scatter, his routines shift, he becomes more introspective. Why? Because you now live in his mind. Jung wrote about internal figures, images of others that live inside us and transform us, even without physical presence. If he carries you with him when you are gone, then your place is already secured within him. Do not mistake his silence for absence of feeling. Many men struggle to translate the soul's language into the mind's logic. He may not say it, he may not even realize it yet. But if these signs are present, then love is already alive. And the next signs? They reveal how the unconscious not only speaks, but begins to transform him entirely. Love has a way of transforming a man in silence. At first, you may not notice, but gradually his life begins to change. Perhaps he once avoided commitment, kept emotional distance, or preferred to live entirely for himself. But now, without planning it, his inner world begins to rearrange. What once felt comfortable, his solitude, his independence, no longer feels enough. Something in him opens. And Jung explained this well. When the unconscious awakens, it reshapes reality even before the mind understands why. So pay attention. Does he begin sharing pieces of himself he never shared with others? Not surface details, but intimate fragments, his fears, his failures, the dreams he hides. When this happens, it is not about seduction. It is surrender. He trusts you enough to reveal his humanity without filters. And that is one of the deepest proofs that something inside him has shifted. Jung said the soul needs a mirror to recognize itself. You become that mirror. Through you, he sees himself differently. And with that comes another sign, his reactions to your emotions. Not everyone can handle another person's emotional intensity. But when a man is truly touched, he starts to mirror your feelings. He feels your joy and smiles unconsciously. He senses your sadness and grows unsettled. His energy shifts when yours does. Even if he doesn't ask the perfect questions. Even if he cannot find the right words, his presence leans toward you, wanting to hold, to comfort, to share. And here's the rehook. What happens when you're not there? Watch carefully. Does he bring you up in conversation? Does he save stories to tell you later? Do you come to his mind first when something happens? That is not coincidence. That is soul attachment. Because what persists in absence speaks louder than what is performed in presence. Jung knew this. The unconscious always reveals itself in patterns, in what cannot be silenced. So if these signs are unfolding, you are no longer an addition in his life. You are becoming a force within him. And the next stage is even stronger, the moment when he begins to need your presence. Not from obsession, but from genuine inner balance. There comes a stage when his soul no longer hides. Without realizing it, he begins to need you, not as a routine, not as a passing comfort, but as a source of balance. You'll notice it in the subtle ways he acts when you are away. Impatience rises when he hasn't heard from you. Small excuses appear just to be near you, even briefly. This is not dependence. It is not obsession. It is connection, a resonance so deep that his unconscious keeps pulling him toward you. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious is not bound by logic or time. When love takes root there, it expands into thoughts, impulses, and decisions. That's why his behavior changes even in areas unrelated to you. He begins to consider your opinion not to impress you, but because he genuinely cares whether his life aligns with you. Plans for the future suddenly include you without him even realizing he has spoken it aloud. And the rehook is this. Why would a man place you in his visions of tomorrow unless his soul already knows? Why would he open up about his doubts, his insecurities, unless something inside has recognized safety in you? When a man confides, when he shows vulnerability, it is not weakness. It is unconscious trust. At this point, love is no longer about words. It is about the removal of armor. He does not fear your presence. He is not performing. He is simply himself. And Jung said it clearly, love is not about certainty, it is about the courage to be vulnerable without fear. Before we move further, let me pause for a heartbeat if this resonates with you. Make sure you subscribe to SYC Soul, hit the bell icon, and like this video so you don't miss what's coming next. Because the signs I'll reveal ahead are even more profound. There is one moment that confirms everything, when a man begins to imagine life with you, without you even asking. You'll hear it in small phrases, in casual remarks. He may say, "One day I'd like to travel to this place." And in his vision you are already there. He doesn't declare it, he implies it. And that implication is more powerful than any rehearsed promise, because the unconscious reveals truth in fragments. This is not about pressure, not about him rushing into commitment. It is about his soul naturally weaving you into his story. Jung explained that once the soul chooses, the conscious mind eventually follows. And if he is already building an inner future with you, then his heart has made its decision. Another profound sign, the way he looks at you. Not as a guest in his life, but as someone he cannot imagine losing. This shift is not superficial. It is not simply being more affectionate. It is his entire being reorganizing itself around your presence. You stop being someone he sees, you become essential. Rehook here. Pay attention to how he prioritizes you without announcing it. Even on difficult days he shows up. Even when overwhelmed, he makes space. Why? Because your presence gives him something rare. Peace. And Jung believed peace is one of the most overlooked but essential signs of love. Excitement fades, but peace remains. When he feels at home with you, when his guard finally drops, you have become his inner refuge. And then comes alignment. Slowly, he begins to enjoy what you enjoy. Not by losing himself, but by discovering joy in your passions, your dreams, your light. This is where intimacy deepens. Not in desire alone, but in belonging. Stay close, because the next signs reveal invisible forms of protection, the ways he guards you even when you are not present. Real love doesn't always shout. Often, it protects in silence. Notice the small ways he defends you when you're not there. Perhaps in conversations, someone questions you or mocks you, and without thinking, he takes your side. Not to impress you, you may never even hear about it, but because his soul feels that defending you is part of defending himself. Jung called this the protective instinct of the unconscious, where the heart shields what it treasures without needing reason. Another sign, he begins changing routines unconsciously. He may not realize it, but his schedule bends toward you. He chooses differently because you now exist in his decisions. These are not dramatic sacrifices. They are subtle shifts that speak louder than words. And here's the rehook. How do you know this is real? Because a man can fake words, but he cannot fake unconscious actions. If he protects you when you're absent, if he thinks of you before choices, if his daily rhythm is different now, then you are already living inside him. At this stage, fear, logic, and old wounds have less power. Something pure is at work, the part of the soul that Jung said was untouched by conditioning. It is love in its rawest form, where devotion arises not from duty but from resonance. But there is more. When all these signs converge, when silence, protection, effort, and peace combine, a new truth emerges, one that cannot be hidden. Love, when it becomes undeniable, rarely arrives with fireworks. It often comes quietly, like a steady presence. You may not hear dramatic confessions, but you will feel it in consistency. He is there, again and again, even in silence. He cares in ways that no one notices. He gives without demanding. And if you observe closely, you'll realize his soul already made its decision long before his mind caught up. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious doesn't lie. It reveals truth through symbols, emotions, and actions. So if you've seen these signs, his attention, his care, his vulnerability, his quiet defense, then love is not a question anymore. It is reality. Rehook. Ask yourself, why do you still doubt? Many times, what we call doubt is just the mind struggling to understand what the soul already knows. That is why recognizing these patterns is powerful. It gives you clarity where confusion once lived. And this is the deepest transformation. He is no longer the same man. His behavior, his choices, even his silences reveal change. You have become more than a thought. You have become part of his being, but stay with me. Because in the final signs, you will see how love matures, not as passion alone, but as trust, alignment, and vision of a shared future. When a man reaches this stage, something irreversible happens. He no longer relates to you as someone passing through his life. You become essential to his emotional balance. Even without words, his presence with you feels like home. He prioritizes you not because he must, but because he wants to. Even on difficult days, he shows up, and in that presence you bring him peace. Jung emphasized that true intimacy is not about constant excitement, but about resonance. When two souls align, boundaries soften, individuality remains, but connection deepens. That is why he begins to align himself naturally with you, enjoying your passions, finding joy in your joy, and sharing in what once was only his. And the rehook, how do you know this is love? Because his soul begins to defend you, even in silence, even when unseen. He chooses you in small, invisible ways. These choices are the loudest proof of all. So, when you look back and see his actions, his silences, his consistency, you will realize something powerful. Love was never about dramatic gestures. It was always about presence, devotion, and peace. And now, in the final part, I'll show you how Jung's wisdom teaches us to trust what we already feel, so doubt no longer clouds your vision of love. Carl Jung taught us that deep within every soul, there is a truth that cannot be hidden. It reveals itself in symbols, emotions, and actions we sometimes overlook. And love, when it is real, always finds a way to show itself. If you are witnessing these signs, his attention, his care, his subtle protection, his trust, his vision of you and his future, then the truth is simple. He is far more in love than he realizes. Do not let doubt deceive you. Many times, the mind struggles to explain what the heart already knows, but intuition rarely lies. If you feel it, if you see it in his actions, trust it. Because the unconscious doesn't play games, it speaks through what cannot be faked. And now, I want to ask you something simple but important. If this message touched you, if it gave voice to what you've always sensed, please subscribe to SYC Soul Like This video, hit the notification bell so you never miss what's coming, and share this video with someone who needs to hear these words. Because true love, the kind that transforms lives, deserves to be understood. It should not be lost in the noise of confusion. And maybe, through you, someone else will finally see the truth in their own story. So remember this, if he shows these signs, don't doubt it. His soul has already chosen you. His mind is only beginning to understand. And that, as Jung would say, is not coincidence. It is fate.